Earlier in today's service, we gave the prayers to the 7 archangels and the 5 crystal ray archangels. And that particular prayer, as you may recall, was compiled by Heart Friends during an event that we had. And I am just amazed at the alchemy of how that was coalesced and compiled and edited and perfected. And it is a great testament to the Heart Friends consciousness and collaborating in these little teams that we had. We broke into teams, and then each one was assigned one of the archangels and their complements to create a stanza for, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. The reason I bring this up is because Lonello would like to share with us today on the fact that it is time for us all to manifest our rainbow body. It is time for us to manifest our rainbow body. And we have that prayer in the 80s section, which you also gave, which was perfect for today's message, which invokes the rainbow light. We've heard David Wilcock and Dannion Brinkley speaking on the rainbow body and how important this concept is to Buddhists and the High Lamas and the work that they do in preparation through meditation for that ultimate destiny with the Divine One as they pass from the screen of life and actually manifest their rainbow body. Padmasambhava knows all about this and is a great advocate of it. Why are we called now to manifest our rainbow body? Because it is time for us to shine forth that light as a blessing to the earth. All the rays in action simultaneously. Now, how do we do this? We know through meditation. I believe the key is to become crystalline beings of light. Because when we are as pure as crystal, what shines through the crystal, the light of heaven, the white light, and then it becomes the rainbow. The clearer we are, the cleaner we are, the purer we are in our consciousness and our minds and our hearts and our souls, the greater the light will shine through us to then manifest that rainbow light and our individual rainbow body. So all that we've done in our Heart Center movement, which really is a crystal ray movement, we used to call it the secret rays, now we call it the crystal rays. All that we've done is bringing us to this point on our individual and our collective paths where we can manifest that rainbow body because we have worked on ourselves assiduously, we have done the inner psychological work to root out every last vestige of the not self. And that word not self could just as easily be spelled KNOT-SELF as NOT-SELF because the knots, these little points of imperfection of where we've been hung up in past lives, all are playing out in our lives to bring us to that point of divine resolution where we can really truly say, I've purified myself by God's grace, maybe through the giving of the violet light, maybe through mantras, maybe through deep introspection and meditation, all of these divine sciences. We've worked on ourselves to resolve ancient issues and even more current ones, issues from all of our past lives, whereby now we can shine forth as a crystal being, and because we are crystalline in our nature, realizing that God is the doer, God is the all, and we are the nothing. We are just the crystal. God is the light that shines forth his, her emanations through us. And God's glory, the rainbow glory of our rainbow body, then shines forth. We have to just perfect ourselves by being more crystalline and allow God to shine forth that light through us. We are not the origin of that light, although the origin is also within us when we contact that as our true essence, our divine selfhood. I believe that all of us have had many initiations in this and past lives, just as Faith just shared with us, where if we surrender and if we let go and if we allow God to be within and through us, the process is a lot easier. If we kick against the pricks, if we resist from the human level, from the not self, the naughty self, which is the naughty self, then of course the path is more difficult. If we let go and we allow the Holy Spirit to use us as instruments, and we are in tune with that through the fact that we know that God is the all in all, God is the doer, we are just the human clay that God can write upon and endow with sacred fire, then our path becomes much more magical and happy, full of levity and joy. I observe in Faith this joy spirit. I mean, you see it on her shining face. I mean, she's brilliant in terms of the purity that she has manifest in her consciousness by probably all the initiations she went through and the love that was shared and the deep, deep inner work that occurred over, as she said, 40 years. I believe it's the same with us. The greater the work that we do, the greater the light will shine forth through us. It will become evident to others by God's grace through the level of purity that we manifest in our consciousness. We know that God is no respecter of persons in this, and so great or small, humble or maybe not so humble, if we learn the science of surrender, the sacred science of surrender, early in the Heart Center, we created this ritual, the sacred ritual of surrender. Joyce Hennes and Nancy Prainer facilitated it through the class that they also oversaw early in the Heart Center, back in probably 2005 or 6. And we created that ritual to remind us that we have to let go and let God. So surrender is a continual process. We can't get to the point on the path where we think we've got it all done and we've perfected ourselves and there's nothing left to purify. There's always going to be something to purify, to cleanse, whether we use Ho'oponopono, the violet flame, the white light, the crystalline energies, the rainbow frequencies. Whatever works for you in producing this divine effect where you have let go of the human ego to the point where it just is a wisp left, just a little wisp, and the divine ego has displaced it and overtaken it in a divine sense, where you know that your entire life is for God and in God and of God. When you can truly say, "My life is yours, O Lord. Take me and use me as your instrument." As St. Francis of Assisi said, "Let me be an instrument of thy peace." He knew this law. He understood this dynamic. He surrendered completely to the divine, and then God was able to perform miracles through him. He could communicate with elemental life, nature spirits. They loved him. They came to him. They flocked to him because of what? The purity of his consciousness. He went through a lot before he became Saint Francis, before he was endowed with these gifts. In fact, he received the stigmata, the purging. What happens in the stigmata when the one seraphim appeared to him and pierced him in the 5 points where Jesus also was crucified? There was an intense purification. And it was a ruby initiation, an 8th ray initiation. And are we willing to go through the same purging? Some people resist and resist and resist, and they do not desire to surrender. Why? Because they are holding on to what they perceive as real, their personality, when indeed that is temporal. And the divine individuality is what we can hold on to, the God within us. and let go of the human personality. And when we understand this dynamic and law, then the surrender process is not so difficult. Yet we all make it difficult when we clutch onto our perspective, our viewpoint about everything, even politics, even today. I think the masters are urging us more and more to just let go of the whole thing and embrace a new wave and a new way of light, which is oneness, which is non-duality, which is centeredness in our hearts and in God. When we can let go and let God, that's where the magic begins. That's when the Holy Spirit will endow you with all types of amazing opportunities, and through those opportunities, experiences, which can be a blessing to others. If you are stuck in the mold of a rigid pattern, a rigid matrix, even of spiritual practices, and not willing to at times let go of those to embrace something new and amazing, then you just kind of entered that field where it's like a fundamentalist New Age consciousness. And I, for one, don't desire that. I think one of the great boons of our movement is we are willing to listen and to be open to truth wherever it comes from, even from devotees who have had other gurus, like Faith and others. So a true guru is one who has become one with God and then teach and share and help to ennoble others through the path that that one has been shown as a path of light, a yellow brick road. And there are many divine teachers around the world who have reached self-realization and become enlightened. And who are we to say this one's better than that? Or I think that's arrogance to think that we know the best of everyone on earth. I think that's a consciousness that's just not wed to the reality of what heaven is all about, which is a collective oneness. All these ascended masters, all these saints and sages of the ages that have become one with God, and they're part of the universality of what we call the Great White Brotherhood, which really is the panoply of all the saints, all the divine beings who have reached that oneness state. So whatever you call it, the Universal White Brotherhood, the Great White Brotherhood, and we could say, to make it more politically correct, brother sisterhood, doesn't matter. It's the oneness of the saints robed in white that we are part of, and all true initiates are part of. It's really one. It's all one. Why differentiate into various religions? And God doesn't do that. In heaven, there's oneness. So when we embrace oneness and wholeness and understanding in this vein, I believe that we do contact the rainbow light. We make contact with it. It begins to unfurl itself through our consciousness. We are not swayed one way or the other, toward this or that thing, which keeps us in duality. We enter the unified field of beingness, where God exists as the singularity, that's point in the center of the circle, which is causality, which there's no karma there because it's in causality, not reactivity. And when we enter the sacred circle and the center point of singularity and reach that gnosis where we are one with it by letting go and letting God and surrendering completely unto it, then the divine individuality replaces, supplants the human personality, the ego, the not self, and the brightness and the beauty and the joy and the cosmic energy of our true nature, our true self, our Buddha nature takes over. And then we just every day awaken to all the new possibilities for service, for joy, for the unfoldment of what God intends and what we can accept and listen to and then obey about what is next for us. I think when Jesus came to me right around June 4th, 2004, with the very first heart stream and said to meditate, meditate. I wasn't a big practitioner of meditation at that point. It was all about listening being still and listening. And I even wrote a song on that, and we'll sing it in a moment. But be still and know that I am God. I mean, this is right in the Bible. When you can meditate and reach that point of stillness, then God speaks to you. Then your higher self communicates very clearly. Then you have access to your conscience, your Christ self, the Word within you, and then everything that then is communicated has to be pure and clean and clear because you have reached that point of stillness. If there's still irritation through the human ego attempting to assert itself, you cannot reach that point of true stillness and silence where the voice of the silence, the voice of the I am can reach you and get through to you. So more and more in our heart center in coming years, I believe we will communicate even more clearly through silence. We will, just as the master Omram, Mikhail Ivanov, said, we will communicate, and he could communicate deeper and more richly through silence than through human words, because the phraseology of our words is still limiting, whereas the energy of the living word, the Logos, the Christ, is beyond human comprehension. It comes from a divine state of perfect cosmic intellect, if you like to call it that, the intellect of the One, the intelligence, really, of the One. As we move more and more into manifesting our rainbow body, which has also been called the Merkaba, by becoming crystalline and totally purifying ourselves through various practices and the anointings that come as we transcend self again and again through those practices and disciplines of the Spirit, we will reach that point of complete knowingness of who we are in God, as God. And this is not blasphemy, because it's not the human ego that you're acclaiming as God within you. It's the divine that already exists that you're just accessing and recognizing and assenting to, right? That's not blasphemy. So Jesus could say, I am the Son of God, and he was, because he had reached that level of awareness. And any true guru, East or West, who has reached that oneness can say the same. So if you are bold enough to assert this divine truth, you have to do it from the vantage point of actually having reached that state of complete surrender to the will of God, to God's entire being within you. So let's sing, Let Not Your Heart Be Troubled.
Let not your heart be troubled, nor let it be afraid. Be still and know that I am God, you're in my image made. Inner joy, inner peace, keep your heart pure and free. Let not your mind be troubled, let no one take your crown. Be still and know that I am God, and deep within I'm found. Inner fire, inner peace, keep your mind fixed on me. trouble.